This is the Nokia X30, a new environmentally friendly mid-ranger that's the brand's most premium phone this year. We haven't reviewed a Nokia phone on our channel in a while, so what is the Nokia X30 all about, and is it a mid-ranger to add to your wishlist? I'm Will for GSM Arena, and let's find out in our full review. With the Nokia X30, Nokia has gone for sustainability rather than trying to compete specs-wise with other mid-rangers. They call it their most eco-friendly phone yet, and it's supposed to have a long life too, to reduce the need to buy a replacement. The Nokia X30 is made largely from recycled materials, from the plastic making up the back panel to the aluminum in the frame. It overall feels well built. The matte back is smooth and elegant, and the little accents, like around the camera bump, lend a premium look. A more durable phone can be used longer, and that's even better for the environment, so it makes sense that Nokia has included proper ingress protection here, rated at IP67. There's also sturdy Gorilla Glass Victus protecting the display. It's a 6.43-inch OLED with a 1080p resolution and a 90Hz refresh rate. We haven't seen OLED tech in a Nokia phone's display for a few years, and it's welcome. You get great contrast here. The colors aren't too accurate out of the box, though there is a slider you can adjust them with in settings. The brightness range is very good overall. We measured a maximum of 440 nits using the manual brightness slider, and this can boost to almost 750 nits in auto mode when in bright sun. It's also nice to have a high refresh rate to smooth out movement on screen, and it will dial down from 90Hz to 60 when you stop interacting with it to save energy. Under the display, you'll find the X30's fingerprint reader. It works pretty well, but it's not very consistent, and throughout the day you may get some misreads from time to time. For your audio, there's just a single bottom-firing speaker, and no headphone jack this time around. The speaker has good loudness, and sound quality is unremarkable but decent.
I'm wide awake, but you're a nightmare.
When it comes to the longevity of a phone's lifetime, one key factor is the software, and there's no worries about that here. The Nokia X30 is part of the Android One program, and that means it gets a clean, stock Android 12 UI, plus extended software support. This includes 3 years of OS updates and 3 years of security patches, so you should be set for the foreseeable future. There's also plenty of storage on board, either 128 or 256 gigs, but it would have been nicer if it was expandable through microSD on top of that. If you're looking for a future-proof phone though, the chipset is very important. You'd want the device to be able to hold up performance-wise even a few years down the road. Unfortunately, this is where the Nokia X30 comes up a bit short. It's running on a Snapdragon 695 5G chipset, which isn't exactly a powerhouse. You do get decent mid-range level performance, but it's on par with phones that are much less expensive than the X30. In this price tier, there are competitors with much more powerful silicon. You don't even get support for 4K video capture here. Battery life on the other hand is middle of the road for this class, but solid. With a 4200 mAh battery, the Nokia X30 was able to score an endurance rating of 94 hours in our proprietary tests. The phone supports 33-watt charging, but as you'd expect for an eco-friendly device, a charger doesn't come in the box. Still, the phone is surprisingly speedy to charge. With a proper third-party adapter, we were able to go from 0 to 69% in half an hour. The Nokia X30 has a dual camera setup on the back, with a 50-megapixel main cam and a 13-megapixel ultra-wide. During the day, photos from the main cam are a mixed bag. There's a wide dynamic range and a good level of detail, but the jagged rendition leaves more to be desired. The biggest issue though is with the colors. The white balance is off, so you get a yellowish green cast to your photos. Portraits are pretty decent. The dynamic range is great, the subjects come out well exposed, and the edge detection is very good. The ultra-wide cam does a much better job with the white balance than the main cam. It's more true to life. Of course, that means that the results aren't consistent when you're switching between the two cameras. And in the course of reviewing the phone, we discovered that the ultra-wide shots are actually composites, taking information from the main cam. The centers of the photos are quite sharp, in stark contrast to the outer parts. In the dark, we actually like the quality of the main cam's photos much better than during the day. The auto white balance returns more true-to-life colors. The sharpness and detail are pretty good, and the exposures are bright. Maybe a bit too bright. Still, the dynamic range is quite wide. Strangely, turning on the night mode results in a darker exposure, which is welcome. This results in better contrast and more detail in shadows. The extreme highlights are toned down too. Low-light photos from the ultra-wide cam are interesting, given the composite nature of these shots. They're very sharp and detailed in the middle, which is sourced from the main cam, but the rest is noticeably less so. In contrast, with the night mode on, the shots seem to be completely sourced from the ultra-wide cam. The level of sharpness is the same across the frame. There doesn't seem to be much benefit in terms of dynamic range or anything else. Selfies come from the 16-megapixel front-facing cam, which bins pixels to produce a 4-megapixel photo. The resolution doesn't seem like quite enough, and the detail level is just alright. The color rendition is pleasant though, and there's a nicely wide dynamic range. Like I mentioned earlier, there's no support for 4K video recording on the Nokia X30. 1080p footage from the main cam isn't too great either. There's decent enough detail for the resolution, but the dynamic range is limited, and the colors are off just like in the stills. 1080p video from the ultra-wide cam is better actually. The colors are more realistic, and these again seem to have taken information from the main cam, and there's good sharpness in the center. The dynamic range is still narrow though. So that's the Nokia X30. This is their flagship model, but rather than being a true flagship, it's a middle-of-the-road mid-range phone. The standout features here are the eco-friendly build, which has waterproofing, a decent OLED screen, and stock Android with plenty of software support. But the chipset isn't competitive for the price, and the cameras are mediocre. It's nice that Nokia is taking steps to help the environment, but if they mean for their new phones to last you a few years, they're going to need some better specs. As it stands now, for the price of the Nokia X30, you can find better value elsewhere. Thanks for watching, guys. As a little bonus chapter, here's what the selfie video looks like out of the Nokia X30. And don't miss checking out our reviews of some of its competitors. See you next time.